In our headlines on this Tuesday, August 19th, here in South Korea, North Korea's Kim Jong-un denounces the Ulchi Freedom Shield taking place here in South Korea, describing the defense drills as a will for war, adding that his regime needs to thus rapidly expand its nuclear armament. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump proposes Washington's potential involvement in security guarantees for Ukraine. The remarks were shared during talks on Monday at the White House with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, among other prominent European leaders. And over in the Middle East, Hamas accepts a ceasefire proposal hammered out by mediators that calls for a 60-day halt to fighting, the release of 10 surviving hostages and the bodies of 18 held in Gaza, as well as a fresh arrangement for the flow of aid into the region. North Korea's Kim Jong-un has denounced the annual defense drills taking place here in South Korea, with the U.S. claiming the joint military exercise is an expression of a will for war. Our Pyongyang covers his remarks.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un accused the United States and South Korea of heightening the risk of conflict through their joint UFS military exercise and stressed that Pyongyang needed to rapidly expand its nuclear armament. His remarks, carried by the KCNA state media on Tuesday, coincided with the start of the annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise. According to the report, Kim delivered the message while inspecting the Chaehyun, North Korea's new 5,000-ton warship at Nampo shipyard. He said the close military coordination between the United States and South Korea, along with their displays of force and nuclear elements, demonstrated a will to provoke war. He added that such actions undermine both peace and the broader security environment in the region. Kim also went on to say that the deteriorating security environment compels North Korea to push for swift, fundamental shifts in its military strategy and to significantly expand its nuclear weapons stockpile. Against this backdrop, Kim emphasized the Navy's role in strengthening North Korea's defense, saying it will soon become a reliable force in the nation's nuclear domain. Photos released by the KCNA showed Kim visiting the Situation Room and living quarters on the Chaehyun. Kim reportedly instructed that the warship move on to performance evaluations in October. An expert pointed to the upcoming South Korea-U.S. summit as the reason for Pyongyang hardening its hostile stance.
This upcoming South Korea summit is very important. And also, it's going to be a real change in the Russian-Ukraine war because Trump has met Putin, and it's another very huge and direct issue for North Korea. So that's why North Korea tried to show their very clear attitude and policy toward the Korean Peninsula, and including issue of denuclearization.
Pyongyang has long denounced the joint military exercise as invasion rehearsals and at times countered with weapon tests. But Seoul and Washington maintain the drills are strictly defensive, with South Korea's unification ministry stressing Tuesday it had no intention of attacking the north or raising tensions on the peninsula. Hyun-Yeong, Arirang News.
And here in South Korea, finance authorities believe the economy is improving but remain wary about the potential impact of external risk factors, including U.S. tariffs. Our business correspondent Kim Do-yeon reports.
At a full session of the National Assembly Strategy and Finance Committee on Tuesday, Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Koo Yoon-chul said the government will restructure low-performing programs and funnel resources into high-impact sectors.
We will boldly restructure underperforming areas and channel national finances into high-performing sectors, using them as a springboard to fulfill state tasks and achieve a super innovative economy.
Koo projected the economy, which has recently shown signs of improvement, will continue its recovery in the second half, backed by extra budget spending. But he cautioned of persistent risks from U.S. tariffs and trade tensions to volatile food prices. To tackle this, he pledged an all-out push to revitalize growth, fast-tracking what he called Korea's transition into a super innovative economy. That includes identifying breakthrough technologies to lift Korea into the ranks of the world's top economies and channeling resources into making these a reality. Meanwhile, Bank of Korea Governor Lee Chang-yong also laid out his review and outlook, which aligned with the finance minister.
Our economy was sluggish early this year, but growth rebounded in the second quarter as sentiment improved, and we expect the recovery to continue into the second half, led by domestic demand and budget spending.
Yi noted GDP grew 0.6% in the second quarter, but warned of uncertainties in domestic demand, China's slowdown, and tariff developments. On monetary policy, he said the central bank has lowered its key rate by a full percentage point since October, while closely monitoring household debt and currency volatility. The Bank of Korea added that while upside risks to annual growth have increased compared to its May forecast of 0.8%, uncertainty remains high over tariffs on semiconductors and other exports, as well as the timing of a rebound in construction investment. 김도현, Arirang News.
Household debt soared to a new high in the second quarter, posting over 1,950 trillion won, according to the Bank of Korea. This amount is up over 24 trillion won on quarter and marks the largest quarterly jump since the third quarter of 2021. Officials are also linking this finding to investment-driven purchases of homes and stocks. Accordingly, the household debt to GDP ratio is estimated to have risen slightly. U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking to set up a summit between the leaders of Ukraine and Russia in hopes of ending the Kremlin's aggression against Kyiv. Now, this latest development follows his talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the White House on Monday. Our Moon Ji-young has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump has begun arrangements for a direct meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, marking the first potential summit since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Following a Monday meeting with Zelenskyy and European partners, President Trump described the discussions as very good. He then held a phone call with President Putin, during which he commenced efforts to organize a summit at a location to be determined. The White House confirmed that U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will facilitate the arrangements between the two countries. During the summit with Zelenskyy, Trump said that the U.S. would be involved in ensuring Ukraine's future security.
There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
These remarks signal a potential shift in Washington's security posture, not ruling out the possibility of U.S. troop deployment. Trump also reiterated his priority for an immediate peace agreement rather than a temporary ceasefire. Meanwhile, Zelenskyy stressed that Russia must stop the war, calling for a trilateral meeting between himself, Trump, and Putin.
And we are ready for trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good. Thank you.
Zelenskyy added that all the sensitive issues, including territorial issues, would be discussed at the highest level in the trilateral summit. In response, President Trump expressed confidence that the trilateral summit would take place, calling it a matter of when, not if. Trump also suggested that such a summit could bring an end to Russia's 3-year invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, European and NATO leaders also attended the White House meeting with President Trump on Monday. There, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the much-needed security for Ukraine would be possible after Monday's meeting.
A historic step, actually, could come out of this meeting in terms of security for Ukraine and security in Europe.
Unlike the more tense February meeting, Monday's summit between Trump and Zelenskyy unfolded in a friendlier atmosphere. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Hamas accepts a ceasefire proposal hammered out by mediators that calls for a 60-day halt to fighting in Gaza. Our Choi Soo-young reports.
Palestine militant group Hamas has agreed to a new ceasefire proposal put forward by mediators Egypt and Qatar. On Monday local time, Hamas official Bassem Naim posted on Facebook that he prays for the flames of war to be extinguished, announcing the group's acceptance of the new plan. Another Hamas source stressed the group accepted the proposal in full without asking for any changes. The plan calls for a 60-day halt to fighting, the release of 10 surviving hostages and the bodies of 18 held in Gaza, as well as the transfer of Israeli troops to allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza. It also includes the release of 200 Palestinian prisoners and 1,500 war detainees. Egypt has hinted at a possible UN peacekeeping deployment in Gaza after the war, signaling security guarantees for the territory. Israel has yet to issue an official response. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed Hamas accepted the deal because of Israel's tough stance and its ongoing push to capture Gaza.
I spoke with the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Staff about our plans for Gaza City and the completion of our missions. And like you, I hear the reports in the media, and from them, you can get one impression. Hamas is under massive pressure.
Meanwhile, the international human rights group Amnesty International has accused Israel of deliberately starving residents in Gaza. Amnesty said its report was based on interviews with hospital staff and displaced civilians in the enclave. Israel, however, has rejected the claim, insisting that there's no malnutrition in Gaza. Cheos-hyung, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in Europe, Spain and Portugal are battling some of their worst wildfires on record, aggravated by scorching summer temperatures. Our Ian Jin has more.
As southern Europe is experiencing one of its worst wildfire seasons in 2 decades, Spain and Portugal are among the hardest hit countries. According to Reuters, about 20 wildfires have devastated thousands of hectares in the regions of Galicia, Castile and Leon in the past week alone. The authorities have halted rail services in the area, as well as closing a 50-kilometer section of the ancient pilgrimage path, the Camino de Santiago, which attracts thousands of visitors during the summer. Data from the European Forest Fire Information System shows that the wildfires have burned 344,400 hectares of forest in Spain so far this year, marking it the largest wildfire-damaged area on record in nearly 20 years. Spain's state weather agency has reported that the heat wave spanning 16 consecutive days is the third longest on record, and the temperatures have reached up to 45 degrees Celsius.
The clear message we get from fires of this magnitude now, from storms as we are having in autumn or winter, is that the climate emergency ravaging the world is accelerating, becoming more serious and more frequent. Science has been warning us about this for a long time.
Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez added that this may be the biggest EU deployment of civil security in history. The Spanish army has deployed 3,000 military personnel and 50 aircraft to aid firefighting efforts. And according to its Interior Ministry, Spain is also receiving or has been offered help from France, Italy, the Netherlands, Slovakia, Germany, and the Czech Republic through the European Civil Protection Mechanism. The authorities said that since June, they have arrested 27 people on suspicion of arson and are investigating 92 others. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
In other news, the station you're watching, Arirang TV, will be hosting President Lee Jae-myung and the director of the Netflix hit K-pop Demon Hunters, that is, Maggie Kang, among others, for a chat on the future of K-pop tomorrow. Arirang Song Yu-jin files this report from the presidential office.
The driving force behind South Korea's national strength. That's how President Lee Jae-myung described Korean culture at his latest cabinet meeting on Monday, pointing to the global success of the Netflix hit K-pop Demon Hunters. The movie has become the platform's most watched animated film, while its soundtrack continues to dominate major charts, from the US Billboard to the UK's official chart. Building on that momentum, the president is set to appear on an Arirang TV special program, K-pop The Next Chapter, on Wednesday to discuss the future of the K-pop industry, the backbone of the Korean wave. He will be joined by a star-studded panel. Maggie Kang, writer and director of K-pop Demon Hunters, members Jihyo and Jong-un of the K-pop girl group Twice, music producer RT, and culture critic Kim Young-dae. The presidential office says they'll share ideas on how to further expand K-pop's global reach and explore policy directions to support its growth. This follows the president's call to craft strategies to cement Korea's status as a cultural powerhouse.
관계부처는 지원하되 간섭하지 않는다는 8길이 원칙에 입각해서 K 콘텐츠의 글로벌 확산 전략 수립과 지원, 그리고 K-팝 등 관련 시설 인프라 확충을 포함해서 종합적인 대책을 마련해 주시기를 당부드립니다.
You can catch K-pop The Next Chapter on Arirang this Wednesday at 5 p.m. Korea time. 송유진, Arirang News.
Prime Minister Kim Min-seok is scheduled to sit down with Bill Gates, Microsoft co-founder and chairman of the Gates Foundation, during the latter's visit to South Korea starting Thursday. Addressing the press pool today, the Prime Minister said a range of global issues are on the agenda, including public health. He added that Gates' visit reflects the latter's desire to deepen cooperation with South Korea in these areas. Gates is also expected to visit the National Assembly to meet with lawmakers to address Korea's contributions to advancing global matters.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi is in New Delhi for a two-day visit, his first in more than 3 years, aimed at improving frozen ties with India. On Monday, Wang Yi held discussions with India's External Affairs Minister, Subramanyam Jaishankar. Jaishankar emphasized the need for a stable border between the two countries to serve as a foundation for stronger bilateral ties. India and China have had a prolonged period of tension following the deadly clash along their Himalayan border in 2020. The two sides also initiated the 24th round of special representatives talks on the boundary issue. Meanwhile, a U.S. trade delegation canceled its planned visit to New Delhi on Monday, citing uncertainty regarding the timeline for concluding a bilateral trade deal. In the United States, cable news channel MSNBC is undergoing a major transformation, announcing it will rebrand as MS Now, short for My Source News, Opinion, and the World. It will follow the upcoming spin-off from NBC Universal. As part of the rebrand, the network will also no longer use the iconic NBC Peacock logo. MS Now's president Rebecca Cutler said that the shift represents a change to chart an independent course, separate from the NBC legacy. In Sweden's northern city of Kiruna, the 113-year-old Kiruna church is being transported on rolling platforms to a new location 5 kilometers away. The 2-day journey is part of a decades-long effort to preserve the town from ground subsidence caused by the expansion of iron ore mining. The city of Kiruna is situated atop the world's largest underground iron ore mine. Along with the 600-ton wooden church building, some 3,000 homes and 6,000 residents are being relocated. 최지희, Arirang News.
Even though it is late August, the momentum of the heat wave has become stronger. Heat wave warnings were extended to the eastern parts of Gyeonggi-do province this morning. It is hard to find areas without heat wave warnings and advisories. For the time being, the temperatures will rise from 33 degrees to around 35 degrees Celsius in the middle of the day. Meanwhile, UV rays are strong across the country. They will start at high levels in the morning, but will turn to very high levels in the Seoul metropolitan area, the Chungcheong-do provinces, eastern regions, and the south coast areas. Tomorrow morning will start off at 24 to 26 degrees all over the country. Highs will move up to 31 degrees in Seoul, 32 degrees in Chuncheon and Busan. Between dawn and afternoon tomorrow, there will be some rain in the Seoul metropolitan area and inland areas of Gangwon-do province. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session, so do stay with us. Thank you for now.